What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of what I guess I am now calling You Must Be Bored, because if you are here and you are hearing the sound of my voice, that could only mean that you are an incredibly bored person right now. So, hence the name of the podcast. Also, I couldn't think of anything else, so that's just what I'm going with for right now. At any rate, how's everybody doing out there? I am Devin. You have found this new little nook of YouTube here, or Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify, that I've decided to occupy for the purposes of rambling to myself about anything that might come to mind. Like, this podcast doesn't have a focus, and I don't really care for it to have a focus. So that's just how it's going to be, you know? Hopefully, I say something that's interesting that makes you want to stick around or hear any of my other takes on the random given thing, but if not, then that's cool too. You know, you're here because you're bored. Maybe something else will keep you a little bit more occupied. A little better than me. But if not, condolences. You have my sympathy. And for the time being, you have my company. So welcome. It is August 11th. Oh, man. Whew. This past weekend. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff happening. Actually, you know, I I saw two movies that I wanted to see for opposite reasons, really. I watched Weapons. I went and saw Weapons in the theater because it had been getting rave reviews. Everybody had been saying nothing but incredibly good things about it. And usually with horror movies, I don't believe the hype at all. I have only ever been nothing but disappointed in horror movies that have a lot of hype behind it. The most recent one being, there's been so many. I was going to say the most recent one being Megan, but honestly, there have just been so many since even that I just can't keep track. And for that reason, there's a lot of movies that I, just completely, I said, okay, this is the thing. I just did it like twice in a row. I was listening to my last recording before I uploaded it, and I realized that I say, a lot. I say, a lot. So I am going to try to make a concentrated effort to not say, quite as much, or if at all, if I can get away with that. I just caught myself saying it right there, so I'm going to try my hardest to not say, But Longlegs, I think, was one of those movies. I haven't watched it, but that's only because everybody was going off about how crazy scary it was. And I was like, no, this is going to be awful. I could already tell. And it's probably not awful, but I doubt it lives up to the hype. And everybody I talked to that I've watched it they've all told me that it doesn't live up to the hype. So I just don't really put a lot of stock into that sort of thing with horror movies. But I did want to see Weapons. I watched Barbarian, and I thought Barbarian... Oh boy. I am also tired, as I always am. I'm always tired. I watched Barbarian when it came out, and I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen or anything like that. Even by horror movie standards, which I will say those standards are subterranean. I thought it was just okay. Like, that's a pretty good movie. Nothing terribly offensive about how it was put together or anything like that. So when I heard that the guy that did Barbarian was doing this, and then all of the rave reviews and all of that, I was like, okay, well, maybe there's actually something there. But even if there isn't anything there, I'll probably find something about it that I like. And lo and behold, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a really, really well put together movie. It's not, in my view, it's not scary at all. I didn't think it was a scary movie, even a little bit. There are some jump scares, sure, but like the creep factor or anything that would make you like afraid to be in your house alone in the dark, I didn't think it was really that much there. What made the movie super compelling, in my view, was that it was a really well thought out, well orchestrated and crafted, kind of a mystery, like a almost a Hitchcockian whodunit. That tells this tale between several different characters, several different character point of view that all interweave in a pretty shockingly well-paced manner that never made me feel like oh, this is dragging on. Oh, when are they going to get to this? When are they get to that? There's a real danger, I think, in having a narrative where you're following like 5 or 6 different people's point of view and switching from one person's point of view, like the end of their little vignette, and then context switching to a different character, the beginning of a different character's little vignette. There's always a problem because, like, usually when you do that switch, you reset the clock, you reset the time, or you rewind the timer there. Like, you just spent 15 minutes going through about, or maybe not 15 minutes, maybe about 20, 30 minutes going through about an hour, maybe in a day of one character, and then you switch to the next character, and their story starts off at the start of that last character's hour or day. And it's like, okay, so there's a danger of feeling like we're not going anywhere. We're spinning our wheels. As soon as the stories start to progress, we reset back to the period earlier time, and now we don't really know, or we're not in a position to know what happens next until we get to the end of this person's story, and then we're going to switch to a different person's point of view from back in the start of all this. There's a real danger of a movie feeling like it's just dragging on, or like it's procrastinating, like it's stalling. You just kind of sitting there like, hurry up and get to the goddamn point. Like, I don't want to sit here and go through all 15 of these characters and what they were doing and what they were eating at the time this incident happened. Like, just get me to the climax already. But I never felt that with Weapons. It was very well paced. The suspense was very well spread out at all the appropriate moments in all of the different characters' recollections. And it kept the suspense really good. Like, one thing that I actually really loved and appreciated, I'm going to try to describe the scene without spoiling. And I'll preface it by saying I'm a big fan of Junji Ito, manga artist who is famous for, Uzumaki and other types of Japanese horror. And he has a unique art style, the art style of which the horror game that I've played on my stream before, World of Horror, is kind of an homage to. One great thing about his art style is he's really good at conveying like creepy facial expressions, really disturbing kind of facial expressions from and creature designs too. And I've always thought, if there was going to be a live action, and I know there is a live action Uzumaki that came out in Japan. I never watched it. But I always thought if there was going to be a live action adaptation of something like Uzumaki or any other Junji Ito inspired sort of thing, it's creepy. And even World of Horror is pretty creepy in how the art depicts characters' facial expressions and all of that. How would you translate that into an actual person on screen, and would that still carry the same level of creep factor that a picture or a drawing carries? And I've always kind of been curious about that. I've always wished I was in a position to experiment with that. There is a scene in Weapons where a character is against their will set upon another character. And as this person, against their will, is setting upon this other character, their face contorts in a way that I can only describe is Junji Ito-esque. And it was creepy. It was legitimately creepy. And I remember watching that scene being like, oh shit, and I try not to watch movies, strictly from, I said it again, I said, god damn it. I caught it that time. I wonder if I had said it before and didn't notice it. I try not to watch movies from the point of view of deconstructing each and every scene as some kind of a would-be film auteur or whatever. Try not to do that. Try to just enjoy a movie as I'm watching it. But I couldn't help at that time be like, wow, this is very similar to what I would expect my experimental Junji Ito inspired horror film to look like. And it actually works. It works really well. This looks super creepy. It was the only, well, maybe not the only. There's another character that kind of does some creep faces here and there too, but that was the only scene that really stood out to me as, because it required, obviously, it required some practical effects around the facial expressions. And it was the only one that stood out to me as being like, okay, this is uniquely crafted to be incredibly creepy in a supernatural sort of way. And I really love that. Like, I that may have been, I mean, for a movie that has a lot of great moments, that particular scene is probably my favorite. So I really enjoyed that movie. I can't really talk too much else about it without getting into like spoiler territory. Really isn't anything negative I have to say about it, really, which is a rarity for a horror movie. Everything it did well, and I loved all the actors in it. I liked the premise. I knew as soon as a certain scene happened very early on in the movie, I immediately clocked what was going on. And now normally that would kind of be a bad thing, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, maybe this was too predictable, maybe this gave a little bit too much away, etc. But it wasn't a bad thing in that regard this time. Even though I clocked it, I still didn't have complete confirmation that I was correct. It was still just a hunch. So I had to watch the rest of it to have my suspicions confirmed. But B, there was still so much else going on around all of that even if I had it clocked, it still made everything else still made the story interesting. So I recommend it. I definitely recommend it. That was a fun one. Not something I get to say super often about horror movies. The other movie, the other movie I watched was War of the Worlds, the new one with Ice Cube. What is the full? Let me look up the full title, because I think there's like a subtitle too. Or is it just called War of the Worlds? I thought it was I thought it had a subtitle. No, I guess not. I guess it's just called War of the Worlds 2025. Yeah, I watched that. That had been going viral a bit on Twitter and whatnot because of the ridiculous nature of it. It is, I guess you could call it an action movie, but honestly, it's done in the same manner as like Unfriended, where it's all from the UI standpoint of this DHS workers multi app sort of thing. It's an advertisement for a number of different products. Obviously, it's on Amazon Prime, so it's a big advertisement for Amazon Prime and Prime drone delivery. It's a huge advertisement from Microsoft Teams. Not that anybody is really interested in an ad from Microsoft Teams. It's kind of it's a big ad for the Department of Homeland Security, and I guess maybe not so much of an ad for NASA. NASA kind of shits the bed on this one, so I don't think it's a big ad for NASA. I'm kind of surprised they didn't try to sneak SpaceX in here saving the day, but it was every bit as ridiculous as all of like the memes and jokes say it is the only way that I could describe it. Ice Cube in this movie literally plays the exact same character that he has always played in every single movie he's been in. He is the same as Doughboy in Boys in the Hood. He is the same as, what was his name? Fucking Desolation Williams in John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars. Who I said at the time, I said, again, I heard it. I caught myself. Who was, as I said at the time, I think I still have that podcast recording of John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars on my YouTube page. But in that, I said that Ice Cube's performance is basically the same as Doughboy from Boys in the Hood. It's the same affect, like I said it again. It's really hard because it just flies out of my mouth so quickly. It's just one of those placeholder things where I in order to bridge a gap between connecting thoughts, I just need some audible thing to just spit out. to connect them, and I guess somehow, became that. It's very Midwestern. It reminds me of Bobby's World, that old cartoon Bobby's World. I guess it's Howie Mandel. His mom was like a Minnesotan who always said, "Don't ya know? Don't ya know?" I guess I kind of say, in a similar manner, though I've never been anywhere near the Midwest. But anyways, War of the Worlds is every bit as worth the watch as Weapons, but for the total opposite reasons. Like, go into this movie with snacks, with friends. I watched it with a friend of mine. We had a good time laughing and asking questions about perplexing moments. It's a good bad movie. I would say it's a good B movie. I haven't listened, but one of my favorite podcasts used to be, and I guess it kind of still is, How Did This Get Made? Paul Scheer, Jason Mantzoukas, June Diane Raphael, who I think, was she in Weapons? Was that her character? Was that her in Weapons? It looked like her, and I was like, wait, June Diane Raphael is in this? If I'm not mistaken, I could easily be mistaken because I'm generally not good with oh, it was her. Yeah, she was in Weapons. Awesome. Yeah, she's a co-host on that podcast. And I mean, for years, they were the inspiration, honestly, for me becoming a content creator to begin with. The very first, them and How Did This Get Made and Angry Video Game Nerd. It was a 1-2 combination, because they both basically did what I always do. I spend a lot of time. I said it again. I snuck it in there, but I'm aware of it now, so I have to be better about catching it on the way out. I spent a lot of time deconstructing movies from a hilarious standpoint with friends of mine. And I spend a lot of time, actually, even before I ever found out who AVGN was, I recorded like really cheaply, really cheaply. It's on my first original OG my Moggle YouTube account, that I'm never going to let anybody know exists. This was back in the era that I had a BlackBerry phone. I put my BlackBerry phone, I had to position it. I positioned it on like a chair and aimed the camera towards the TV. And I had my Dreamcast NES pirate disc, basically. Every NES game imaginable, all on one disc that I played on my Dreamcast. And what I would do, I called it Game Roulette. And I've done a few of them on my YouTube channel here, but what I would do is I would just push down on the arrow key or the down arrow on the controller, because it would scroll through all of the game. There's like hundreds upon hundreds of games, so it was designed to scroll through them really quickly. And up and down scrolls up and down, left and right changes the pages. So I would like do diagonal. I would hold the down and a diagonal so that it would both scroll down quickly and paginate quickly. And I would go so fast I would never be able to tell which games were being highlighted. And at any given moment, I would just randomly press A, and it would just launch whatever game happened to be highlighted at the time. And I would say, okay, whatever is playing, I have to play. And I would just play some random ass game I never heard of. And I did that a few times, which I can't even remember which games I actually let me see if I can look that up. I'm actually kind of curious about that. But yeah, I would do that, and then I would record myself playing these random games. And if you're familiar with old NES games, again, this was before I even heard of AVGN, but I had long since already been a subscriber to the notion that most NES games were garbage. Like they were just poor games, poor quality games, shitty games. And everybody remembers the classics, of course, the decent ones, but even some of the decent ones were never really that good. And then nobody wants to remember or even can remember a lot of the shitty ones. So most of the games that I landed on were fucking awful. Oh, wait, what the fuck? Hold on a second. Oh, I wonder if... let me see. I would be curious. I wonder why I would have made that decision. Oh yeah, I enlisted him. I enlisted him. I don't know why, but I did. What's okay? What's this first game? I can't tell. I didn't put game titles in them, so I can't tell which games these are. Which one is this one? All right, let me just get a game at random and find out what I have. Rally bike. Rally bike. Oh no. Okay, this one. This video is only 2. I remember this one just from the music alone. I remember this one. Yeah, this video is only 2 minutes long, so clearly I didn't last that long in this one. So Rally Bike was one of them. What was the other one? I mean, there were so many terrible games that if I wanted to, I could have done this for years and years, just going through all these games. But like, you can't see obviously because you're listening to it, but the video quality is just garbage because it's just coming off of my BlackBerry phone. Oh no! I already did this one. That's not the one I wanted. This one. This was a tennis game that I recall being kind of fun. Which one was this one? One more. Let's give the old college go one more time. See what we get at random here. What? Jimmy Connors tennis. Jimmy Connors tennis. I don't recall this being too bad. Yeah. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. Listen to that music. Of course, as soon as I was gonna compliment it, is when I started eating shit. I'm not gonna let my sucking. Yeah, I think I liked that one, which was kind of a. Oh wait, I think I remember this one too. Okay, I'm kind of going down a weird rabbit hole here with these games, but. All right, well, round and around this little thing goes. Where it'll stop, God only knows. Oh, Astrofang. Astrofang, yeah. This weird space racing game. Anyways, that's all I'm gonna get into on that. But it was no, there was a soccer game too. What game was this? This game I played this one the most, I think. So this was clearly I played this for 8 minutes. So hit that early. Nintendo World Cup. Okay, that's a classic. Nintendo World Cup is a classic. This game was fun. I ended up playing it for 8 hours. That was a good one. Okay, that was a good one. I'll leave it with Nintendo World Cup. Anyways, yeah, so I don't even know what got me on this tangent of right, because I was saying the two things that got me into even becoming a content creator was Angry Video Game Nerd and How Did This Get Made? And How Did This Get Made was literally just what me and my buddies would do. And we started off with, we don't have a recording of it or anything, but we started off with Transformers, the very first Transformers movie. I remember when that came out, we all got together and we went and saw it at Alamo Drafthouse here at Austin. And that movie was so bad. I have no idea. Okay, Alamo Drafthouse has some pretty strict rules. If you're not familiar, they're pretty famous for it. You know, no talking on your phone, etc. No being loud or disrupting the show. They'll kick you out, etc., etc. It's one of the things that has made it, a good place to watch movies at before they, went to shit. But to this day, I have no idea how we didn't get kicked out of the theater because that movie, that first Transformers movie was so bad that we were just like harassing the shit out of it the entire time, like loudly to each other. I think probably because everybody else in the theater was too, or at least most everybody else was. Like nobody really cared. I feel like we probably should have gotten at least a warning. We were a little bit obnoxious about it. But after that, though, we walked out and we literally spent about a solid hour standing in the parking lot just ranting about how bad that movie was. And after that is when we were like, I was like, well, why don't we just do a podcast? Let's do this as a podcast. Um, so yeah, I guess for whatever reason I felt like walking down. Oh, because that it all stemmed from John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars and Ice Cube's performance in that being completely identical. The performance of Ice Cube as like a futuristic Western what is it? Bandito style outlaw in the Martian West, robbing space trains and shit. His performance as that character being completely identical to both his 1992 high school gangster, I said it again, his high school gangster Boys in the Hood character, and also simultaneously being identical to his 2025 50 some odd year old Department of Homeland Security spook. Like those, all three of those have the exact same range and expression. So that was kind of funny for me to see too. But that was a fun movie to watch just to, shit on. So if you've got nothing better to do, you want to hang out with a friend or so, a couple of friends, have some beers, eat some snacks, laugh at a bad movie. It's good for that. War of the Worlds is good for that. Again, I mean, there's not really much you could spoil about War of the Worlds. There's nothing I could say that's gonna really truly convey what watching that movie was like, but it's worth watching for the lulz alone. So I'll give it that much. I'll give it its due there. So I did that over the weekend. Watched those couple movies. I also, what else I did? I'm not going to say I went boot scooting because there were no boots and I did not scoot, but I did go to a fairly rural Texas honky tonk. And that was unique. That was an interesting experience. That was an uncomfortable experience because I got to tell you, I walk in the door. I'm going there. I'm meeting a friend. I walk in the door, and it's a place that's famous for live music. One of Willie Nelson's managers founded it years ago, so a lot of prominent singer-songwriters like go there just to, I said it there, I said it again. It's gonna be hard. I need like a shot collar or something that's just trained to hearing those words come out of my mouth. But it's a live music place, and there was somebody playing there that night. And I walk in, and of course, as I should have expected, as I was suspecting, I am the only not white guy in there. It was packed. It was packed. I was one of the very few that was under the age of like 50, and I was definitely the only for a while. There was another black dude who walked in there later, but I was definitely even with the other black dude in there, I was definitely the only very obvious city slicker, if you still want to call people city slickers. I was a city slicker in there. I felt a little out of place. Everybody had like their ranch wear on, their western wear on, there were boots, there were cowboy hats, there was all sorts of rural Texas ruggedness. While this lady was very talented. I mean, actually, both of the bands that we saw were very talented. But yeah, for a while I was just like, I feel like I probably should have dressed more. I was not like I was dressed, any all crazy or anything. I wasn't like gothed out. Although that probably would have been that's probably what I should do next time is find a really offbeat pattern, offbeat style, and just go into a honky tonk like that. But I feel like probably, being the one black guy in a room of like 200 white people is probably different enough there. It was an interesting experience though. It was a pretty cool place. I had fun there. It was unique. It was definitely unique. Um, it was just way out of the way. It was way out of the way from where I was. But sometimes sometimes you have to move out of your comfort zone and experience a few new things before, or so you can really truly appreciate. Well, one, appreciate all of the uniqueness that life has to offer, but then also just not be so confined to the comforts of your familiar bubble. And that's what I had to keep telling myself too, is like, this is good. This is good that I feel some level of discomfort here, because it does your psyche good to not always be so ensconced within the safety of your own personal bubble. I feel like maybe a lot of people, I mean, it's super easy to do that nowadays, obviously. It's super easy to just kind of get lost in your own little, you could build, this is a part of the, I mean, okay, I guess maybe this feels like it might be the part of the podcast where I start to segue into politics here. My apologies, but it feels like the soup du jour for so many people, especially almost uniquely on the right, but it happens in both quadrants, is to create your own reality and just live exclusively in that, and then react to all the made up shit that exists exclusively in your own reality. Like things that exist in the real world, the shared reality that we all partake in, whether we're aware of it or not, none of that shit seems to matter anymore. Now it's all just about making up whatever it is you want to make up to genetically engineer your response and then force your output onto the rest of the world, who may not even be aware of the shit that you're reacting to even existing in your own head, let alone at anybody else who you manage to convince also, exists. Like the Sydney Sweeney thing, it came out, like I mentioned this, I think maybe the first episode I recorded, I mentioned that I didn't give a shit about Sydney Sweeney and all that and the ad, and I didn't feel compelled to react to it. And apparently it turns out that the whole thing, like the whole reaction, that at least I had seen a little bit of, was engineered. Like that whole, let me see if I can find it here. Oh. This is something. Where was this at? I think Mashable put this report out. In reality, most progressives weren't worked up much at all. This is a quote from their article, their write-up on it. Criticism of the ad campaign had come almost entirely from a smattering of accounts with relatively few followers, according to an analysis of social media data by the New York Times. Conversation about the ad did not escalate online or in traditional media until days later, after right-leaning influencers, broadcasters, and politicians began criticizing what they described as a wave of progressive outrage. In fact, by the time right-wing users were in an uproar, only a few thousand posts on X mentioned Miss Sweeney, according to data by Tweetbinder, a social media analytics company. Fewer than 10% of those expressed clear criticism of the actress or ad, according to analysis by the Times, which use, I guess, artificial intelligence. It kind of cuts off there. So yeah, there wasn't any real controversy. There wasn't any real reaction. The reaction was all being ginned up by right-wingers because they wanted to create a fake narrative that, oh, Democrats or progressives are going too far. Look at them. They're criticizing Sydney Sweeney for being beautiful. Is this really how you're going to win back male voters, Democrats? These guys over here, huh? Like, they wanted to have that narrative, so they just pretended like it existed. And then they started reacting to that thing that they were pretending exists, while everybody else is just over here basically saying what I said when it happened, which is, I don't care, and I can't bring myself to care. So, like, and this is like innocuous. This Sydney Sweeney shit, one way or another, is very innocuous. But they don't do this just for innocuous stuff. They do this for literally everything. Take, for example, crime in DC. Now, it's pretty well established that Washington, D.C. has had issues in the past with violent crime. After all, its NBA team used to be called the Washington Bullets until local people in the community considered their struggles with gun violence it was a little bit insensitive with respects to their struggles with gun violence, so they renamed the team to the Washington Wizards. But crime in DC, much as it has been all around the country, has generally been on the decline. But you can't ever tell. You can never tell anybody of right-wing persuasion that, because right-wing media has been so fucking inundated with crazy crime narratives. And it's easy to create those narratives if all you do is just focus on the news stories of any crime existing. It would be literally the same as if I could find a way to hack into your YouTube algorithm and just constantly push YouTube videos of taco spaghetti recipes, taco spaghetti eating challenges, taco spaghetti skits and memes, taco spaghetti rage bait, taco spaghetti this, taco spaghetti that, and the only thing you ever saw was taco spaghetti. You open up YouTube, it's taco spaghetti. You open up TikTok even, because I got in there too. It's taco spaghetti. You open up Instagram. Oh shit, I'm in Meta. Taco spaghetti all over your Instagram feed. Taco spaghetti in your Instagram Reels. Taco spaghetti in your Instagram stories. You turn on TV, it's taco spaghetti. Oh shit, you turn on Channel 11 nightly news. Oh, tonight's top story, taco spaghetti. We're talking about taco spaghetti then. You turn on Stephen Colbert. Hey, my first guest tonight, taco spaghetti. Oh, motherfucker, it's taco spaghetti to the left of the fucking right. You go to Amazon Prime. Oh, there's a new movie with Ice Cube, War of the Worlds, starring Ice Cube and taco spaghetti. Oh, fuck, it's fucking taco spaghetti and War of the Worlds. It's taco spaghetti to the left. It's taco spaghetti to the right. Taco spaghetti, taco spaghetti, taco spaghetti, taco spaghetti, taco spaghetti. If I did that to you, if I pushed that shit in your worldview, the only thing you would ever think was that the entirety of reality was being invaded by taco spaghetti advocates, a taco spaghetti cabal. There is an evil, dark cabal of taco spaghetti advocates that just want you and your kids to eat taco spaghetti, to breathe taco spaghetti, to fuck taco spaghetti. And they're not going to stop. They're going to control all avenues of the government until everything you think and do revolves around taco spaghetti, unless you grab your gun and you stop them. Like, that's how you're going to turn. That's what you're going to turn into. That's what you're going to turn into. And anybody else that I'm not focusing that kind of shit on, they're going to look at you and your taco spaghetti obsessed psychomania, and they're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with this person? Taco spaghetti? The fuck are you talking about? I saw one recipe video about how to make taco spaghetti. That's about it. I don't know what you're going on about. You sound like a fucking psycho. What are you talking about? A secret cabal of taco spaghetti cultists? What? Dude, you need to get on lithium? I mean, I have a therapist I could refer you to. Like, that's how people would treat you, And I said it again. But that's what a lot, it's not just specifically crime stuff, although the crime thing is pernicious because, look up Sinclair Media. I said, again, I know. I hear it, and it frustrates me too. Look up Sinclair Media. They're the ones that output all of these feeder stories to all of these local news outlets, and they're the ones that drive these crime narratives the most. You see a lot of the crime. Crime is going on here. There's a carjacking here. People are getting their houses broken into over there. Ooh, it's the knockout game. Oh, the knockout game. Those dirty colored people are playing the knockout game. And they just do this left and right, all over the place. So yeah, if that's all you consume, and you consume it uncritically, and you don't have any way, mechanism, or metric to really analyze, okay, what's actually happening with crime? Is crime really as bad as they say it is? Is it really that? I just said it again. I know. Is it really that destructive? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe we need to. If it is, then we need to figure out why. Like, what's happening here? Why does our society seem to be unraveling from all of this insane crime? Nobody who just casually absorbs these news stories via osmosis while they're driving to work or driving their kids to school or whatever. They're not going to sit there and be like, all right, now is the time for me to do my advanced research analysis. I'm gonna posit my scientific theory. I'm gonna go through the scientific analysis. I'm gonna go through my research phase. I'm gonna make sure that I contact at least 3 sources of independent validation, accredited independent validation, not just random people. I'm going to make sure these people went to school and have degrees and know how to do research and how to validate a statement and validate a claim. I'm going to make sure it's adequately peer reviewed before I can come to my own decision about what's actually happening with crime. No, they don't do that shit at all. They just hear it and go, oh man, that's fucked up. Oh, why is there so much crime? It just seems like there's so much crime everywhere. And then in the instance where they hear from someone they know, oh yeah, man, a friend of mine had his car broken into, or someone broke into my car, man. Then all of a sudden, just that alone is enough to validate everything. Everything. Going back to my analogy, you're walking around tweaked out of your fucking brain thinking that a taco spaghetti cult member is going to burst out of the trees at you, and you sit down at lunch with a friend of yours, at a taco joint, ironically, because it's Austin. And the first thing he says to you is, oh man, the other day my wife made me some of that taco spaghetti and it didn't sit well with me. I don't think I could eat that stuff anymore. What do you think your reaction to that's going to be? If you're a normal person, you would just be like, oh man, that sucks. Was it too spicy, or maybe you just too much coriander, or that's a normal person's reaction. But if you were constantly being inundated with all the taco spaghetti shit and the normal person said that to you, yeah, you would probably lose your fucking mind. You'd be like, well, let me tell you about the taco spaghetti cult. They got you. They're trying to get you. You need to go vomit that out right now. It's in you. It's in you. It's gonna give your kids autism. It's gonna give your kids autism. It's gonna make your balls shrink up. They're just gonna turn into a fucking psychopath. And you're just not going to be able to discern reality. You're not going to be able to have any mechanism for critical analysis. And that's basically what's happening with the crime narrative in this country because, hey, guess what? There's always going to be crime. Doesn't matter how effective a government is at reducing it one way or another. There's always going to be crime. You're always going to have somebody that's going to break into a car, break into a house, shoot somebody at a liquor store or whatever. It's always going to exist. And when you have an environment that has fostered this insane level of both disinformation and paranoid delusion around it, then any instance where that a crime might happen, especially if it happens to be in an area that has been known for having crimes happen in the past, it's just going to validate the worst psychomania that you can imagine. And that's what's happening in DC, and it's being used by a criminal pedophile serving as our president in a flagrant attempt to both use authoritarian measures to take over American City federally, and also just shock people. A lot of this is, again, I still truly in my heart of hearts believes that so much of what this administration does is they believe in rule by fear and depression and just malaise and general misery. Bobby Kotick, the former Activision CEO, he had a quote as an executive, as a business executive, that I think sums up this executive mindset. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find this Bobby Kotick quote. Here it is. This is Bobby Kotick describing this may have been when he was first named. He's been at Activision for a while, but at a certain point he was promoted to being its CEO. And this is when I believe he was operating in his first or second year. I can't quite remember, but he was newly ensconced as the CEO of Activision. And he's describing the culture that he wants to enshrine in his workforce. He's talking about the people that work for him, the people that work for Activision, all of the hardworking men and women, and non-binaries, if we're gonna be progressive and accepting, all of the he, she's, and theys that put in all of their hard work, making sure that Call of Duty and World of Warcraft and Overwatch and everything else gets out on time, under budget, acceptable levels of quality, making Bobby Kotick and his board of directors as much money as humanly possible before they inevitably get laid off. This is the environment that he wanted to enshrine upon his most hardest working, loyal workers. Quote, I think we definitely have been able to instill the culture, the skepticism and pessimism and fear that you should have in an economy like we are in today. And so, while generally people talk about the recession, we are pretty good at keeping people focused on the deep depression. Whew. And Tony, if it was left to me, I would raise prices even further. Yeah, so that's an executive mindset. That is a mindset that a lot of people in these positions of authority over those that they feel they are basically the lords of, they don't want them to feel good. They don't want happy workers. A happy worker is an empowered worker, and an empowered worker is a worker that threatens your bottom line, or maybe not your bottom line. They threaten your profits. They threaten the amount of money that you could take for yourself. They threaten the amount of power and authority that you have over how things are governed. A happy worker is an empowered worker. A happy citizen is an empowered citizen. They don't want happy workers and they don't want happy citizens. They don't want empowered workers and they don't want empowered citizens. So everything that they do is designed to paraphrase Bobby Kotick, it is designed to instill a culture of skepticism, pessimism, and fear. And they want you focused on depression and recession. That's it. Nothing they do has anything at all to do with fucking making America great again or anything else like that. It is specifically and explicitly designed to crush your spirit. To make you feel misery, to make you feel hopeless, and to make you feel despair. That's all it is. And whatever they can get away with in the ancillary, that's just bonus. That's just bonus for them. If they could get away with making a cool couple bill crypto scamming people on their way to crashing the economy so that they can make people feel as shit as possible, that's a fucking awesome bonus. That's a cherry on top for them. So whenever I hear all of these different things, Trump signed an executive order that doesn't really do anything new with respects to 401ks, because we already have a bill that was passed in 1979. I think it's called the ERISA, that dictates that 401ks can invest in private equity and real estate. So Trump signing an executive order saying that 401ks can invest in private equity and real estate is absolutely nothing. In that respect, it's absolutely nothing. It's just designed to make people go, oh my God, because, people hate private equity, and rightly so. So people go, oh my God, oh shit, we're going to lose money. And you probably will lose money, but it doesn't do anything new. Basically, all he's doing is reaffirming his support for something that was already passed in 1979. And making it sound like a lot of it is just also designed. Now, there is a new component to that because he puts crypto in there too. That's going to be challenged in courts. It's not obviously a part of the law because crypto didn't exist in 1979, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But all of this is still designed to wear your ass down, to make you feel misery, to make you feel like you're in a hopeless situation. This shit with DC, it's the lowest hanging fruit imaginable for an authoritarian because DC doesn't have statehood. They're ostensibly run by a governor, but super easy for the Fed to step in and be like, okay, we're taking over, which is why the governor of DC isn't putting up a fight. She basically put out a statement saying, yeah, we don't feel good about our chances of fighting this legally, so we're just not gonna. And the law states that Trump has basically 2 days to state his emergency case in order to facilitate him running via the federal government, the city of DC, the district of DC, and contingent upon the approval in that 48-hour window, he really only has the ability to run DC for 30 days, so for just a month. This is my prediction, because we've seen Trump do this time and time again. It's his modus operandi. There's a thing, it works like A, and it outputs at A. And then he comes in, he says, oh, that sucks, we're going to do it my way. He breaks it, fucking makes it work at B, and it outputs at B, and it's really shitty, and things don't work, and, you know, there's a lot of backlash, there's a lot of market turmoil, and there's a lot of, you know, boss calls being made from his biggest donors or investors or whoever else that are like, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. And then he turns around, he's like, okay, now that some imaginary metric that definitely wasn't really met has been met because I'm so tough and I'm smart and I'm getting all these people to do things I want them to do, even though it's not happening. Now that it's happening, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. And X, Y, and Z takes that policy from B with output B, and it goes back to being policy A with output A that it was at the very start. And then the outcomes start to resemble the start, and he goes, I fixed it. You see? I fixed it. It was broken before, but then I fixed it. I'm right again. He does that time and time again, and I feel like that's what's going to happen with the DC thing. Like, there's already been reporting for months on top of months, even before Trump ever came in. And again, like I said before, it isn't just DC, it's nationwide. Violent crime has been declining. It's worse in some places than it is in other, obviously. It's not an across-the-board thing, and where it how it exists and how it manifests in each location is unique. But generally speaking, it's been going down nationwide for, you know, at least a year and a half. What he's going to do, he's going to come in, he's going to fuck some shit up. Everyone's going to be, you know, real bummed out. There probably isn't going to be anything super substantial changed in the day-to-day governance of DC area police, contingent upon, I guess, maybe if there's going to be any protest or anything like that. But regardless, at the end of 30 days, it's going to go back to being run. And this is probably why, honestly, it's probably why the mayor of DC just was like, all right, well, do whatever you want. To them, this might just be a 30-day vacation, because at the end of those 30 days, they're going to give it back to the mayor. They're going to have their handing off ceremony. He's going to be standing up there being like, look at how beautiful the city is. I solved the crime problem. There's no more crime in DC. And the reality of the situation isn't going to matter. Maybe crime gets better still in DC because that's just the way that it's been trending. You know, and maybe it continues to go down, and he takes credit for that. Whether it's due or not, he takes credit for it. Or maybe crime actually gets worse. But it doesn't matter if it gets worse, because he'll still say it's gotten a lot better, and he'll take false credit for it getting better, even if it hasn't really gotten better. One way or the other, he's going to hand it off. He's going to say the job's done. I got it down better, and the purposes that serves will have served its course. To what end that is, I don't know. It establishes some precedents that a president can just do this. It's easier for him to do it in DC than it would be for him to do it in like California, for sure. But the precedent is still set. You know, he got his misery bump out of it. Whatever he could do to just make people feel like shit, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do that thing that makes you feel like shit. You know, he got that out of it. And, you know, maybe he could springboard. And if it takes the media attention off of Jeffrey Epstein, and the fact that this dude was not only banging kids with Jeffrey Epstein, but was also very likely using both his Teen USA modeling, Miss Teen USA beauty pageant thing, and Mar-a-Lago to traffic kids to Jeffrey Epstein, Probably also killed Jeffrey Epstein too, or he's paid the person to kill Jeff. Probably the guy responsible for that. If he could take the media attention away from all of that, then great. Yeah, then it's definitely worth doing all this. Like, it's the most worth it. Especially if it also helps take attention away from the fact that his polls are tanking, his poll numbers are tanking, the economy is tanking, everything's like looking like shit for the guy. There's a lot of fucking uproar about this redistricting thing in Texas. I said, but I'm going to stick with that, because you need to know about the redistricting in Texas and the incredible backlash against it. You've got governors all across the country that are fucking talking like how I'd be talking like a year or two ago, how I am still talking now, but like, I would never expect hearing any of these Democrats being like, fuck this, no more rules, no more fucking going through all of these, bureaucratic machinations about how we actually need this commission and this stuff. No. We're just doing this shit. We're fighting fire with fire. We're bringing our guns to the gunfight. We're going to do what we need to do in order to get this shit put away. We're going to overpower Republicans every which way we can. We're going to fight using their tactics. We're going to stop treating them like friends and colleagues and start treating them like the enemies of the state that they are. We're ready for this fucking fight. Like, that's the only thing I've ever wanted from fucking Democrats for the past literally 25 years, is just show up ready to draw blood. I want Democrats that I don't want a Democrat. And I'm not a registered Democrat, never have been, because I've always seen the party as fucking weak as shit. This is the kind of Democrat that I've wanted to see. If there was ever going to be a kind of Democrat that would make me go, okay, fine, I'll join the party, it would be this kind of Democrat here. I want a Democrat who has wet dreams about hunting down Republicans with a buck knife and then just grabbing them and just tying them up by their feet and hanging them upside down by a tree and just like fucking slitting a little bit out of their neck and bleeding them out like a hog. Just like with a little bucket catching the blood so they can go feed it to like their weird vampire girlfriend that's like hiding in a cabin. I'm just describing Let the Right One In, which is a great movie. It's a great movie. I never saw the American adaptation, Let Me In or whatever, because I didn't think it needed an American adaptation. The Swedish version was amazing enough on its own right. But yes, I'm just describing Let the Right One In. But that's kind of what I want to see. I want to see Democrats that are not just willing to fight, but eager and desperate to fight. And not just eager and desperate to fight, but eager and desperate to draw blood. That's what I want to see. And right now, we might be in a too little too late situation here. I don't know. I don't think we are, but if ever we're going to figure out one way or another if we are or not, it's going to require us to be ready to fight at that level. So I am super encouraged by at least that much. Seeing not just the voters, because the voters have already been here for a while now. Voters have already been here. I would argue that that's a contributing factor to why a lot of Democratic voters didn't turn out for Kamala, because she wasn't there. She was saying, oh, Joe Biden's great. Everything he did was perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. And oh, by the way, here's Liz Cheney. Like, nobody fucking wanted Liz Cheney. Like, nobody gave a shit about Liz Cheney. People wanted fucking blood. So now I think that we're at a situation where we're starting to see a little bit more alignment. Never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, honestly, but we're starting to see a little bit more alignment with establishment Democrat politicians and their base. You know, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. I watched an interview with Gene Wu, who is the leader of the Texas State Dems in the Texas House. He's currently one of the Dems that are in Illinois. He gave an interview with YouTube channel Left Reckoning, and he gave it wasn't just him. It was, I forget the other person's name, but I'm gonna look this up now. Yes, Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos and Gene Wu. They gave interviews with them, and it was very fascinating listening to both of them talk, because it isn't the kind of fire and vigor that I'm used to hearing from Democrats. And I never had these two pegged as being those kinds of guys, or guy and gal. Never had them pegged for that. So it was actually very instructive. And some of the things that they would say, and some of the ways that they would say those things, kind of gave me a little bit of insight into what they feel the permission structure has changed from the perspective of their base.
And we know that it was the DC mob bosses, essentially, for these people who wrote these maps, because over and over, who designed these maps, because over and over again, thousands of Texans came to testify on no maps. So there was hearing after hearing after hearing where thousands of Texans waited for hours and hours to testify that they did not want this mid-decade redistricting, this power grab. But we had no maps to look at. And in fact, when we kept asking over and over again, the Republicans, where are the maps? Where are the maps? They didn't know where they were. Yeah. They said they weren't part of this design. Well, it came from D.C. And I did have a couple of Republican friends say, you know what? We didn't draw these maps. They're coming straight from D.C. and Trump's corrupt friends.
Yeah, this is straight from the swamp. This thing is a swamp monster. I mean, Republicans in Texas, as bad as they are, we're not even allowed to look at this thing. We're not allowed to touch it, right? Because I mean, like, people in the Senate members, Republican members of the House, they were truly like, we have no idea what's going on. And this is how deep in the swamp they are now. We're in a totally different reality now. The world, 5 years later, whatever it is completely different. Things were bad in 21. Things are catastrophic now. People around this country, no matter who you are, you're looking outside, looking at your own lives, and you're watching things fall apart piece by piece. A lot more Americans are losing their jobs. People are going to start losing their homes. And it's going to get significantly worse. All the economic indicators that, like, the reason why Trump fired the BLM lady is because the numbers are so god-awful. And you think about it this way. What my epiphany has been like, is that I just realized that, look, for the past 50 years, the people in charge have slowly stolen everything from the American people. They've stolen our good jobs. They've stolen our education. They've stolen our healthcare. They've stolen everything except for one thing left: our power, our voice, our ability to change our future when we don't like what's happening.
Well, and in addition to that, the reality is the majority of the population in Texas are in the urban areas, or in the Houston area, this Travis County, Dallas County, and so Bexar County. The majority of Texans are not in these rural areas, but the way they have drawn the lines allows them to take control of the narrative. But the truth is, what we're seeing Republicans do today, trying to bully us, trying to intimidate us, using the fear factor, that has largely worked across our population. They're scaring people so they don't go vote. They're scaring people and threatening them. If you come vote, we're going to arrest you because we're going to claim this and this and that. And so people are scared to go vote. So they have done that, and it's worked. It's worked for almost the last 30 years in Texas.
That's why they keep doing it.
Exactly. But Democrats are saying, fuck off. We're going to push back. I largely pushed back, and I said, I'm going to be a bold, proud progressive. I am going to put that Democrat sign in my front yard. I don't care if my neighbors threaten me. I'm going to push back. I'm going to bully the bully. Yeah. And we did it, and then more neighbors were like, hey, I thought I was the only Democrat. I'm going to put my sign up. And a lot of neighbors were like, no, my neighbors, I'm scared of them. I don't want them to know I'm a Democrat. I won't put my sign up. But we just kept yelling and yelling from the rooftops. It's okay to be a proud progressive, a proud Democrat. And we pushed back, and I flipped the seat. And that's what we need to do statewide. Stand up to these bullies.
And I think it's now more important than ever that progressive Democrats should be the ones who are in charge, should be the ones who are pushing out front, because the progressive Democrats have said for ages, talk about jobs, talk about education, talk about healthcare. And instead, National Democrats like, well, we're going to do this and that, and we're going to placate this people and that. And like, we don't need to pander to the Black community. We don't need to pander to Latinos. Black community, Latino community, Asian community, you know what they want? They want jobs, they want education, and they want health care, right? Stop trying to just feed them bullshit. And instead just say, we're going to give you what everyone deserves: jobs, education, health care.
I think a lot of establishment Democrats, and John Oliver actually had a really great piece over this on his show last night, where he was talking about Chuck Schumer and how he abdicates a lot of his, I guess, political. I don't even know what the right word is. He abdicates a lot of his political thinking, I guess, and formulating to an imaginary couple that resides only in his head called the Baileys. And in watching this blew my mind. I was watching it with a friend of mine. We watched it right before we watched War of the Worlds. And I literally was stunned by one of the admissions that someone was interviewing him and asked who the Baileys vote for. And he was like, they're Trump voters. Basically, they voted for Trump in 2016. One voted for Trump in 2020, the other didn't. And then they both voted for him in 2024. And there's so much in this John Oliver piece where he talks about how he has this elaborate backstory for him. He's been talking about him since 2007. It's like this whole crazy situation where he abdicates so much of his he does a lot of cognitive offloading onto this imaginary couple that seems to be straight up hardcore far right Republicans in his mind, by his own definition, really. And I feel like a lot of establishment Democrats do that. Like, in place of going out into their communities and talking to people and really connecting with what their people's asks and needs are, to get away from that, to get around that, they concoct, like, I guess, virtual constituents in their brains. And then they, instead of actually addressing the needs of, like, their real constituents, they address the needs of, like, their virtual constituents. I kind of feel like that's been the modus operandi for a lot of establishment Democrats for years and years, which is why they always seem to be so out of lockstep with reality. I think that's what Kamala was doing when she was, like, advocating for going after weird. What was their demographic? They were targeting a demographic with Liz Cheney that just really didn't exist, like disaffected Nikki Haley voters or some stupid shit like that. And I remember at the time just being like, "What the fuck are you chasing? Like, this doesn't exist. Like, there's no there. You're just imagining something in your head that you think is real because it sounds good to you for some reason." And a lot of the times, the reason why it sounds good to them is because it gives them an excuse to not have to make promises to real people. You know, like, once you make a promise to a real person, then you set yourself up for failure if you have no intention of fighting for that promise. So the second you tell people, I'm going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, if you don't actually fight your ass off to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, then you're a fucking failure in their eyes. And then you're like, well, why did I make that promise? I wasn't ever going to actually try to keep it. Sure, I would say, hey, give me a bill that raises the minimum wage to $15 an hour. But if the Senate doesn't want to give me that bill, I'm not going to pull out any teeth for it. I've got other things I want to do. But now, because I didn't pull out teeth for it, all these people are coming against me. Well, what gives? There's no winning here. I lose by playing, so why play? I'm just going to imagine constituents in my head and then tailor all of my politics to them. You know, and I think that's where a lot of establishment Democrats have been, not just Chuck Schumer, even though he's the one that most vocally verbalizes and gives name to this phenomenon. I think a lot of establishment Democrats just kind of do that just so that they don't have to make promises to their constituents. They don't have to actually ever answer to them. And especially for the ones that don't like progressivism or populism, they can just sidetrack that shit, you know, wholesale, right? Well, we have long since been out of a political climate where that is widely possible. It wasn't possible for Andrew Cuomo when Zoran Mamdani came around. Wasn't possible for Crowley, I forget his name, Crowley, when AOC bumped him off. It hasn't been possible for a lot of different places, and not just federally. The federal races are the ones that gain the most recognition, but up and down the board at state and local elections all across the country, you've had insurgent candidates upsetting established incumbents. It's not new; it's been happening for years at this point, and I think that has allowed for a permission structure to change, where guys like Gene Wu and reps like Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos, and I don't mean to make it sound like they were shitty before. I'm not really super familiar with how they spoke with their constituents before, or how they spoke about issues, but I don't ever remember them having this level of fire or vigor. And it's right for them to have it in this moment. But I think that the change of that permission structure allows them to pursue these kinds of I guess, rhetorical, and maybe not even rhetorical, but also political actions. These more hostile, aggressive sort of pursuits of power. And that's really what it is all about. This is about a raw pursuit of power. I think Democrats have kind of been allergic to thinking about politics in that manner because they see it as dirty. They see it as, I guess, uncouth. They see it as craven, as not, I guess, pure. Because, they just want power. Ew, they're scumbags. What are you going to do with that power? If you were a good person, you wouldn't want the power, right? Isn't that a very common parable in fictional media, where it's like, oh, well, you just want it too much, so obviously you shouldn't have it. I'm going to give the power to this person that doesn't want it because they're going to do good with it, right? That's like the general sort of Aesop's fable distilled version of that mentality. But that mentality is a doomed mentality. Like, the whole purpose of electoral politics is power. If you're going to make change in this world through policy, the only way you're going to do that is with power. And this is something that Republicans have figured out generations ago. The only thing that's been their problem is the fact that their policies are wildly unpopular. They're the literal eat shit and the eat shit party. I'll just say it like that. I was gonna say something else, but it may have been a little bit too crass for me to add into that. But I'll just keep it with the eat shit party. If you wanted to hint at what I was gonna say, what I was gonna add to that may have been a little bit too crass. Let me just say that I think it's pretty roundly recognized now at this point that GOP stands for grand old pedophiles. Because that's what this party seems to be truly representing here. The insane levels of cover that they're running for both Trump and Epstein, combined with the fact that it came out a couple days ago that like a Republican state legislator was advocating for changing the age of consent laws in Utah to protect one of like his family members who was being prosecuted for statutory rape of a 13-year-old girl. Republican. In Utah, just doing Republican shit, so for reasons like that, and the fact that their economic policies always sends people to the poorhouse, pops up tent cities all over the place. Their foreign policy gets us ensconced in decades-long wars with seemingly no end in sight. Just general shittiness of their ability or inability to govern is what would usually keep Republicans out of party. Remember, when the New Deal dropped, Americans voted for Roosevelt four terms in a row. Term limits for presidents didn't exist until Roosevelt. Because he was president for 16 years, people were like, well, maybe we should put term limits on this thing. But even after that, Republicans were still like basically a permanent minority party. Wasn't too often they would gain control of the House or Senate. Like, Democrats were largely the majority party up until Ronald Reagan. And that's where a lot of their arrogance and conceit comes from, too, for a lot of the older Democrats, is because they cut their teeth in an era where they were a pretty much permanent majority party. But because Republicans know that they have that eventual doom waiting for them in, a fair and free open elections, the only thing they've ever engaged in their psychotic quest for power is destroying democracy, rigging elections, gerrymandering districts, stealing elections outright via the Supreme Court. When you look at the 2000 presidential election, like, the only thing these motherfuckers do is anything and everything in their power, and a lot of things that are out of their power, to skew an election in their favor so that they can retain power. And they use that power very liberally. They don't shy away from it. They know what to do when they have power. Democrats are afraid to use power when they obtain it. Democrats have power, they are scared shitless of it. Republicans have power, they fucking have orgies to share it amongst themselves using it, So I feel like the permission structure amongst the base in general, but also just the general public, even people who aren't part of the conventional Democratic base, it's allowed a lot of establishment Democrats to recognize that no, pursuing power is not evil or wrong or bad. It's actually the point of all of this. And the more ruthlessly you pursue it, the more likely you are to obtain it. And once you obtain it, you have to actually do something positive with it. It's not enough just to win an election. If you do FDR style things relentlessly, not just, we're going to pass one bill and then we're just going to wait for the good times to roll in. No, you got to pass a series of FDR style New Deal policies, because we are way behind. We're way behind in a lot of respects, and we're desperate for help, desperate for anything that can pull us out of this dystopian failed state that we're in right now. So we're going to need a lot of those policies. They're going to have to generate material benefits and gains for the majority of working people immediately. So that does mean raising the minimum wage, not to $15 an hour, but to $20 an hour, and making sure that we ramp that up as quickly as possible, in addition to doing things like expanding Medicaid. Even if we don't do Medicare for all, which we should do Medicare for all, what we should do is we should just start lowering. We don't even need to call it Medicare for all. We could just keep Medicare as it is, expand what it covers to include dental and vision and hearing, and then just start lowering the age. Oh, if you're 40, you're eligible for Medicare. Oh, look at that. If you're 30, you're eligible for Medicare. Hey, if you're 20, you're eligible for Medicare. Just do that if you need to, but do it quickly. Got to do this shit quickly. No more sitting around waiting for things, and no means testing. Universality, because it's the easiest to roll out something that's universal, and it's the hardest to take away if it's universal. So universal programs that get rolled out very quickly, and things that people feel that are tangible. And even if all of that other stuff takes a little bit too long to roll out, do some craven political shit, like just cut checks to people. Hey, it's a stimulus check. Happy Tuesday. You get a stimulus check. And then everyone's like, oh, hell yeah, I just got fucking $1,600 from the government. Fuck yeah, what are we gonna do with this money? Oh, I'm gonna go finally put a new stereo in my car, or I'm gonna pay off my mobile bill. Maybe I'll get a new phone, or maybe I'll go and do this or that. I could take a trip. I could get a cheap airfare off of Expedia or something, and maybe I'll go fly to LA and visit a friend of mine and go party on the beach for a bit. And then more people have an ability to just enjoy life, because for some random fucking reason, you cut them a $1,600 check for nothing. And yeah, you're going to hear Republicans, oh, this is just bribery, or this is wasteful spending. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Hey, stop fucking little kids and just go fuck yourself instead. That's what you should tell them. And then you wait until the moment is right when you're doing all these policies, and you just start promoting the living shit out of it. And you promote it relentlessly. You do Modi shit. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, who is very famous for putting pictures of his face on bags of rice and shit that the government hands out to like poor people. You could say that that's crass or craven. I call it great marketing. Put your fucking name on shit, put your face on shit, go out and have community events, throw block parties, have a community block party in communities all across the country to celebrate things. Oh, you gave out $1,600 stimulus checks. We're gonna have a block party in St. Louis. We're gonna have a block party in Dallas. We're gonna have a block party in Garland. We're gonna have a block party in Eugene, Oregon. We're gonna have a block party. We're gonna have block parties organized by local Democratic parties in those areas that just celebrate the fact that we gave you all checks, or celebrate the fact that we lowered Medicare to cover people in their 30s, or to celebrate the fact that, hey, we're building a high-speed rail line that's going to connect Eugene, Oregon to fucking San Francisco. How awesome is that? How awesome is that? You're going to be able to get on the Shinkansen and go to San Francisco now instead of having to drive the whole distance. You could just make a weekend junket out of it and sleep the whole way there and back. Let's throw a block party to celebrate that. You're going to have to do that kind of stuff to make sure, well, you should do that kind of stuff anyways, because it'd be awesome. It would make people really enjoy life. And that's really what this is all about. It would make life easier. It'd make life more fun. People would enjoy it. But also, you would put Republicans in their grave. You would put the Republican Party in a permanent... It's like burying the vampire back in its own soil and then like sealing it in cement and dumping it into like a river. Or dumping it into like a underwater pool of holy water, just keeping them buried under there, never to rise again. So, actually burying them in their own soil is the good thing. You got to bury them in somebody else's. Bury them in holy soil. You got to dig up some dirt around the Vatican and then just like bury the vampire in that instead of their own soil. But you get what I'm getting at. You get what I'm getting at. Oh, but everything you just said costs so much money. Oh, our taxes are going to go so through the roof. Well, fuck you, man. We're going to have all these policies that's going to be like wealth tax. We're definitely raising taxes on the top earners. We're going to repatriate a lot of money that people are stealing and hoarding offshore. Oh, yeah, by the way, white collar crime is back. So we're going to be aggressively pursuing that. We're also reinstating Glass-Steagall and we're modernizing it to cover the age of fucking, internet finance and crypto and all that dumb shit. We're going to do a lot of things that's going to and we're going to install a Tubin tax too, which is like a 2 or 3 cent tax on trades. So we're not only going to do a lot of shit that's going to balance out the scales revenue wise with respects to how the wealthiest earners and corporations pay their taxes, but once we start cycling all of these investments back into the American people, back into working people in all these communities, guess what? Their output's going to go through the roof. That's going to end up feeding back to the economy anyways, and things are going to just skyrocket from there. Because that's what happens when you actually invest in your people. Instead of investing in corporations where they just hoard the profits for themselves and we all turn into fucking peasants and serfs, you invest in the people, people will reinvest it back into society. That's just how it works. And somehow, the worst, dumbest motherfuckers managed to convince everybody else that the opposite was true. That the only way to see prosperity is to have all your money stolen from you by fucking vampire capitalists. Boy, the Texas Democrat thing. I was like, I don't even know how I started down that rant, but it was the Texas Democrat thing. And then also all of the other stuff with, Trump's, the Bobby Koticking of the American presidency, which is really what it is. It is the Bobby Koticking of the American presidency, which it's these sorts of things, these sorts of sordid tales rarely have good endings. So just brace yourself for that. We've got a. It's only been like 7 months too, man, or maybe 8 months at this point. It's only been about 7 or 8 months. It's only been 7 or 8 months. And already, like, how has there not been, like, there should be impeachment hearings just for incompetence alone. We're 7 or 8 months into this, and already you've completely destroyed the economy. You're talking about, like, hundreds of thousands of lost jobs. That in and of itself should be like, whoa, hit the emergency brake here. Like, we got to stop this shit and examine what's happening right now, because we should never be in a position where we're just okay and moving along when we have hundreds and thousands of lost jobs, month after month after month. Let's figure this shit out right now. Oh, all the prices, the inflation's going up. Prices, everything's spiking. Wait a second. What's with this trade war? I thought it was supposed to be about making people buy things from Americans, but Ford is posting that they've lost billions already on the tariff thing, but they make most of their shit in America. So how come a company that's making most of its shit in America is posting $2 billion in losses because of the tariffs that are supposed to make people buy things that are made in America? Like, we need to hit the brakes on that too and examine what's actually going on with this trade policy. And oh, by the way, what is going on with the trade policy? Because as of the time of my recording this, Trump has backed out again on tariffs on China. Like, what the fuck is this? How is anybody supposed to be able to, like, how is any, and I'm speaking from the point of view of like a business person here as a CEO of a company. How are you supposed to, like, or a board of directors or a venture capitalist, anybody that just angel investors, anybody that just wants to invest in business? How are you supposed to figure out a long-term plan or strategy for investments when you have no idea what the fuck anything is going to cost 2 months from now, 2 weeks from now? Like, am I supposed to invest in a company that has this really brilliant idea on how to manufacture bikes? Let's say, oh, this is a really great way to make bikes for kids, and bikes for kids that also adults could look normal riding, or whatever do fucking, I don't know what you fucking think a bike that can happen with a bike. It's a bike. It's been around for generations. Maybe somebody has a real new cool take on a bike. Maybe they're making the bike version of the Slate, where it's a really super moddable bike. You can buy different attachments, make your bike look kind of like a Harley, or you could, like, with snap-on pieces, or you could snap on a motor and make it like a moped, Harley moped, or you could snap on these things and make it look like the Akira bike. Maybe somebody has an idea like that. That sounds awesome. I want to invest in that. What do you need? What is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to reach, like, first of all, what are your milestones for, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4? What are you looking for hitting the market, and what kind of output are you looking at when you first hit the market, et cetera, et cetera? What's the cost going to be for making the amount of bikes that you want to debut on the market with by Q2? And what are you going to, or Q3, and what are you going to actually need with respects to getting those assembled in Q1 or Q2? You start planning for all of that. You're not going to have any answers if you don't know what steel is going to cost, or if you don't know where you can even get it from. What other materials do you need? Carbon fiber? Are you making carbon fiber snap-on pieces? Are your snap-on pieces plastic? Where's the plastic going to come from? How much is that plastic going to cost? Or if it's any sort of thing like that. Oh, well, it could cost X amount, but then we need to figure out what the tariffs are going to be like. Next week, I guess, is when what is it, 50% tariffs? Oh, no. He actually tweeted that he made a deal with so-and-so country, so now the tariffs are only going to be 10%. Oh, okay, 10% tariffs. Okay, so let me recalculate to figure out what the cost is going to be. Maybe we could shift our order. Maybe we'll be able to build a few more than we were initially planning, and maybe that might change how we want to go to market then. If we have a larger order, maybe we want to expand our offering and not make it so strictly regimented to a very narrow set of early subscribers, or early reservationists, early reservationists. Oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Oh, wait, the tariffs are actually 25%. So it's down from 50, but it's 25%. That's still beefy. Well, we just started making all these calls to all of the, we have a tentative contract with a marketing agency. I already ordered so many of the, how can I cancel those orders? Should I cancel them? Like, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to invest in anything if you don't know what the fuck is going on? So, like, that's just today with China. So all of this shit, in my view, is grounds for, like, impeachment. Like, impeachment immediately. Just stop the presses on everything the government is doing, because in addition to the fucking tariff nonsense, and in addition to all the other things, there's also the fact that you've got the Marines deployed on American soil, and now you're talking about having the U.S. military turn its guns inward in two different territories, California and D.C. The fuck is going on here? Now all of a sudden we're invading America? Maybe we should stop the presses on that too and talk about that. So it's just a mess. It's gonna get bad, y'all. It's gonna get bad, but there is hope that it can get better. All right, there is hope that it can get better. But as I remember in the days. Oh man, I think I have this song saved somewhere too. I remember in the days of George W. The Iraq War, the heyday of the Iraq War, peak Iraq War. There was such a feeling of it was a lot like this, honestly. Hopelessness, despair. It was a lot of like, what on earth can we possibly do to turn this around? Like, we have no power here. We have no power. Like, we're in the minority. And even if we weren't, it's pretty clear that the powers that be have their agenda set for war and expansion in the Middle East. What can we do? There was a lot of dismay and misery and just kind of hopelessness. And I remember, I can't remember quite where I was, at the time. I feel like I was at a cafe, maybe. Oh, I'm trying to find this. I don't think I have it, which is a real bummer. I'll have to look. I think I might just look it up just so I could play it out. I'm gonna end the episode here, but I'm gonna do a Bill O'Reilly to play you out. What does that mean? To play you out. What does that mean? We'll do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. I'll write it. We'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. David Gans. Oh, I think I found it. This is it. Yeah, this song. Okay, I remember.
Oh, well, the man who stole the future has an oil drum for a heart.
This was the Bush era hippie anthem that I remember hearing. That kind of cheered me up back then.
We'll take our culture back someday, but it's gonna get worse before it gets better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, but I know it's gonna get better.
Yep.
Yes, I know it's gonna get better, cause it almost always does.
This is the anthem for our era.
Can't say much about the who and how, but I believe it just because. Day by day our bonds unweave, mammon gloats as nature grieves. Oh, save us from these pious thieves. It's gonna
get worse before it gets better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, but I know it's gonna get better.
Well, I love the world we live in, cause I live in it with you.
Woo! Yep. This is the anthem. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on this episode of You Must Be Bored. I will be back next Tuesday with a new set of rambles. But just keep in mind, y'all, that as bad as things may seem today, it's got to get worse for you tomorrow. As bad as it seems now, it's got to get worse. So just prepare yourself for that. But it will get better, especially if we continue to put in the work to fight for it to get better. So this, actually, listening to this is giving me some serious flashbacks to the Iraq War era. And we got past that somehow. I don't remember this soloing. This is the grandstanding version of this. Oh my god, this song is 6 minutes and 28 seconds long. I definitely don't remember this song being that damn long. I thought it was like a 3-minute song. Oh, they just go off on some soloing tangents here. Alright, anyways, I'm not going to listen to all of this here, but Have a good rest of your evening, day, night, whatever it might be while you happen to be listening to this, and I'll see you guys next time.
Well, now I don't know why they're so proud to be defined by what they buy. These righteous despoilers, these blood for oilers, taking orders from on high. And I don't know whose word I'd take about this God whose laws I break. I'll swan dive into that fiery lake. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. But I know it's gonna get better.